Ratnabhushan, trained motivator and guide to IAS aspirant, international motivational speaker, leadership trainer, CEO, coach, political strategist, and policy advisor. Work is worship. Work is worship. Always do something for the benefit of others without any selfish motive. Isopnishat. Work is worship. Always do something for the benefit of others without any selfish motive. Isopnishat. Republicans defend Trump's record. Republicans defend Trump's record. The sources Hindu newspaper. Republicans defend Trump's record at the party convention. Delegates officially nominate president for re-election. Day 1 of the Republican National Convention kicked off on Monday with the evening speeches dwelling on the several common themes. The speeches and the taped conversations sought to paint a different picture of US President Donald Trump's handling of the pandemic, thus for a picture that contradicts the record of the US being the worst hit country globally with the more than 5.7 million cases and over 175,000 deaths. Other themes for the evening include the portrayal of the Democrats and their presidential nominee Joe Biden as radicals wanting to spread chaos and anarchy across the country and wanting to get rid of suburban communities and take away freedom from the Americans. Several speakers, including those from the minority communities, such as former U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Indian American Nikki Haley, African American Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, African American footballer and Trump advisor Herschel Walker, defender Mr. Trump's and the Gup's record on the race. The next news is China floats BRICS 5G base as Indian moves ban. With government considering excluding Huawei from the country's network, New Delhi may face a tricky choice. China has proposed the creations of what it is called BRICS innovation base to take forward 5G and artificial intelligence cooperation among the 5 countries as their industry ministers met virtually on Monday. China Minister of Industry and Innovations Technology Zhao Yaqing urged fellow nations including India to boost cooperations in areas including 5G and AI. China media reported, adding to it, China was actively considering the establishment of BRICS innovation base in China in order to strengthen practical cooperation with the BRICS. The move could pose an awkward questions for India, which is only country in the grouping that is leaning towards excluding Chinese participation in the rollout of its national 5G network. Russia has said it would work with China on 5G, with the Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov saying that this month they were open to working with the Chinese telecommunication from Huawei, which has been largely banned by the United States. South Africa, Brazil. In South Africa, Huawei is providing services to the 3 of its telecom operators in the rollout of their 5G networks. Brazil has allowed participation in trials, but it is yet to take a final call through the Vice President Hamilton Mourão indicated they would likely to allow Huawei, considering that more than a third of the Brazil 4G network operators use Huawei equipment. Huawei has capacity above its competitors, and we do not yet see US companies capable of defeating international competition, said. India is unlikely to allow Chinese participation in 5G, particularly in the wake of the recent moves to tighten investment from China and to ban 559 Chinese apps, citing the national security concern. The ban, which followed the June clash in Galwan Valley, cited a threat to the sovereignty and integrity of the India posed by the apps. The next news is down but not out, down but not out, down but not out. Political instability in parts of the West Asia and North Africa is allowing the IAS space to operate. The UN counter-terrorism chief statement to the Security Council and the continuing presence of Islamic State IS terrorists in West Asia, Africa and elsewhere should be seen as a serious warning by the countries in this region. 2 years after the Sunni jihadist group was declared defeated, more than 10,000 IS fighters remain active in Iraq and Syria, said Vladimir Voronko. IS-driven terror attacks are on the rise. Besides these 2 countries, where the IS had established a proto-state in 2014, destroyed by multilateral war efforts that lasted 4 years. The terror outfit has a province in the West Africa with nearly 3,000 fighters, according to the UN. In war-torn Afghanistan, it continues to stage attacks, targeting ethnic and religious minorities. The IS may no longer control Maydig city, but it's from a breakaway factions of the Al-Qaeda in the Iraq to one of the world's most potent terrorist groups should be a lesson for all the stakeholders. Ever since they lost territories, IS fighters withdrew from the front lines and started operating in cells in the deserts, mountains, and heartlands of the conflict-ridden countries. Iraq and Syria are particularly vulnerable to the IS resurgence, as these countries are yet to be fully stabilized after the wars. In Syria, the Bashar al-Assad government has practically won the civil war, but Syria is now a divided country. While the government controls most of the territory, a coalition of jihadists and rebels is running the Idlib province, Idlib province, Idlib province, Idlib province, Idlib province, Idlib province. In the northeast, the Kurdish rebels have declared autonomy. On the Syrian-Turkish border, Turkey, backed by the pro-Turkish rebels, has carved out a buffer and has been in permanent conflict with the Kurds. Though there is an uneasy quiet in Syria, the situation is inflammable. Iraq, after months of the protest and instability, has finally got government, but Prime Minister Mustafa al-Khadimi is torn between the US and Iran. Pro-Iran Shia militia continue to target US troops inside Iraq, which could turn the country into a battlefield between Washington and Tehran. The next news is living with the earth in Kerala. Living with the earth in Kerala, the state's future is inextricably linked to how it conserves its natural capital by limiting consumption. Natural disasters have to come to be accepted as the feature of the annual monsoon season in Kerala. In the past 2 years has been flooding on the unprecedented scale, along with the landslide. Last year, 59 people lost their lives in the landslide at the Kabalapara in the Malappuram district. This year we have seen one at the Pettimudi in Idukki district, where a hill collapsed, submerging the houses of the estate workers while they slept. The estimated death toll to reach 65 some days ago, with the person still missing on the top of the landslide. We have had to bear witness to a spectacular plane crash in the Kozhikode airport, again accompanied with the loss of the lives, while we try to wrench ourselves away from our memories of these fateful events by recalling the valiant effort made by the pilots to save lives and of the selfless act of the local youths who arrived immediately to take the survivors to hospital. The crash serves as a reminder that further hardship awaits as us if we do not jettison the development model that has come into characteristic of the state. It's a plunder everywhere. It's plunder everywhere. It's plunder everywhere. The fact that the Kerala has received a wide acclaim for having achieved a social indicator associated with the high human development as meant for the crucial and the underlying dynamic has been ignored. This dynamic is one of the unrelenting attacks on the foundations of human survival and natural capital everywhere in Kerala. In the earth has been violated. The rivers are polluted when they are not dry. The valleys are filled with the garbage, and the hills gouged out to accommodate residents and religious houses when they have not been dynamited for the quarrying. It is a quite extraordinary that has all taken place in the state that has been held by the sections of the intelligentsia as representing the gold standard of the development. For anyone willing to read the signs such as decimation of natural capital, decimation of natural capital, decimation of natural capital with its attendant consequences of flooding and landslide bodes ill for the future of the whole people. The editorial of the Hindu newspaper, the marginalization of justice in public discourse in India today, while self-interest and national glory dominance, concern for disruptive justice is rare. Two ideas appear to dominate on the public discourse today. One, somewhat implicity, self-interest. The second, for more explicitity, national glory. Now, the pursuit of the material of the cultural self-interest affects others does not seem to bother us. There is a little acknowledgement that the pursuit of the greed and narrow self-interest leads to the severe inequalities to an unequal division of social benefits. Thank you so much. Wish you all the best. God bless. God bless Bharat.